What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Oshan, and this channel is about sharing tips and tricks on how I started 3 small businesses in the UK and showing you like a behind the scenes look. In this video I'm going to be talking about how traveling really gave me some confidence and helped me start and launch these 3 businesses. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So let's bring it back to my education. To begin with, let me just get into these trees. I got my first job straight out of college. I did my GCSEs, didn't do too well in them. And then from 16 to 18, studied 2 years in construction. So I didn't do my A-levels, I did a national diploma. And then from 18 onwards then, I worked for my local council in the kind of consultancy department there, doing plans, like surveying buildings, that kind of stuff, but just as a junior technician, nothing crazy. I just worked. It was the same kind of path that my dad took, and you know, it's something that I just followed along with, really, because I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. I always thought about starting a business. I always felt like I wanted to be in control of the kind of finances a bit more, and go to control and just make more money. And I quickly realized that without a degree, that I felt, this is just my opinion, but I felt like I had a cap on how much money I could earn if I didn't have a degree. So that played into it as well. But after I finished that course, that national diploma when I was 18, I did do kind of a HNC in building studies. I wanted to continue to work, like I said, because I didn't really know what course to choose when I went to university, so I didn't know which way to go, and I also didn't want any kind of student debt. So that was the reason behind not going to university. So I was able to save, work and save, and yeah, that was that. So after that, I obviously worked in that department for a couple of years, and I realized quickly that it wasn't the place that I wanted to be, because I had a chat with a few people there, and I was the youngest in that department, and what they were saying was, you really got to make the most of your 20s and go traveling and all that kind of stuff, because it was some of the things that they had regretted speaking to them in that office, and it made me think, and it really opened my eyes to, not being in a 9-to-5 job, not being, and just, broadening my horizons a little bit. So what I did was, the contract ended, and I ended up going traveling. And what I did, I flew straight into Bangkok, one way, didn't have a return flight booked, and the plan was to stay there for 3-4 months, kind of see how it went. So I ended up going to Bangkok, and on the first night, staying in this hostel, and I didn't talk to anyone on the first night, anyone. And I was thought to myself, like, is this how traveling is? Yeah, because I was quite awkward. I wasn't really confident with it. I pulled the trigger and went traveling, but making friends and just talking, I wasn't good at it. And so the second night comes around, and I thought, I've got to do something differently now. So I went to the most popular streets in Bangkok, Khao San Road, and I actually ended up talking to some friends, and we had an amazing night, and it kind of all stemmed from there. So then there was never a night then that I didn't talk to anybody else, and I think by going traveling and going from Bangkok to Cambodia to Vietnam, getting suits in Vietnam. I'll put a pop-up there somewhere of some suits that I got made. I got a motorbike and I drove up from Hoi An up a few days until I crashed. That's going to be a whole story in itself, so I'll make a video on that whole story. But essentially I lasted 3.5 weeks before that crash, and I had to end up coming home for surgery. The insurance paid for a business flight back home. Yeah, so I had surgery on my collarbone and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, but it really made me think when I think about business, and traveling really did change me. I know it's kind of, everybody says that, but it's true, I think, in my sense, in my case, because the confidence that it gave me was unbelievable. Because I remember returning home and I just felt like a different person. I just felt like a totally different person, and it was really refreshing. And people noticed as well, and I think it gave me the confidence to start my first business, which was awesome. So after I got back from my injury and I recovered for a few months, I ended up going to Dublin because I thought that was going to be my new place to live for a few years. I wanted to kind of experience a new city, and I thought, Dublin, why not? I'd been there for a few Six Nation events and I had a great time, so I thought, let's give it a go. I stayed there for about 2 weeks in the hostel, had a great time, probably drank too much, and visited a few flats and looked for a lot of jobs, but couldn't really find anything, and so ended up just traveling Ireland a bit more. So ended up doing a bit of hitchhiking, spent about 4 weeks traveling around Ireland, and it was great. And then ended up going home again. That summer then I went on a holiday, family holiday to America. Then obviously in November went back to Thailand and to meet up with a friend from my local town, and did the islands there on Thailand, Koh Samui and Koh Tao and all that kind of stuff. But then ended up going to Osaka to spend Christmas in Japan. That was an experience, very expensive place, but it was a fantastic experience. Then New Year's Eve went to Hanoi, spent a few weeks in Hanoi then, and then went to Burma, one of the most beautiful countries that I've ever visited. Food, culture, everything, highly recommended. And I spent about almost 4 weeks there before returning back home. Now, after that, after getting home, I really didn't know what to do. I was kind of kicking the can down the road and didn't really have any jobs that I particularly wanted to do, no passion in anything. I just generally had no idea. The only thing I had was I would like to start a business someday. That's the only thing I had in my mind. So after that, I ended up getting a visa to Canada. And the reason I picked Canada and Vancouver in particular was back in 2014. I had been there for a holiday. I met up with a friend there which had a similar visa, and I loved it. I loved Vancouver, and so I thought, let's give it a go. So I got to Canada in March or April actually of 2016. It was tough because I went there with not a lot of money, and I thought finding a job was going to be a lot easier than it actually was. I ended up staying in a hostel for a few weeks, and that was expensive. Pretty much burned through half of my money in that first month of being in Vancouver and trying to find a job, finding out that they didn't really accept a HNC, which is my highest qualification. I didn't have a degree, so they didn't really recognize that HNC, which I didn't know prior. And I was thinking about going back to like a similar kind of role that I did in the council, just as something to do, but because the building regulations and the way they build houses and design houses different there, I struggled to get a job there as well. Now, I did a lot of thinking in Canada. I struggled. I worked as a bartender. I did anything I could, really. I worked as a landscaper, putting down pavers, all that kind of stuff I did. just as something to get some money in. There were times where I didn't even, there was sections that didn't work, and it was hard. I didn't have a lot of money to explore and do the things that I really wanted to do in Canada, which was a shame. But nevertheless, the experience was amazing. But that last half of that Canadian visa, because it was a 2-year visa, I did a lot of thinking into business and how do I make money. And then I started doing drop shipping. I spent some money and lost some money on Facebook ads. Sold my first product, drop shipping, which I think was a Pride ring, if I can remember. I think it was some sort of, it was Pride week in Vancouver anyway, and I started selling Pride rings, like as a drop shipping site. Because drop shipping in 2017 was massive. It's grown now, but back in 2017, like it was crazy, and people were making a lot of money. I did not. I probably lost a few £100, but with losing £300 came some experience in Facebook advertising. I knew what I did wrong, and you know, 4 years later I've got a Facebook ad agency. So you know, I think starting a business, like I said in my previous video, you just have to start, because by making the mistakes that I did doing dropshipping sites, allowed me to get to this point. It's amazing, really. It's amazing, really. So the takeaway from this really is that traveling really changed me. It gave me the confidence that I needed to start these businesses. I think without traveling and without pushing myself outside my comfort zone, I would never have kind of achieved what I have to this day. Now I have a long way to go, but still, I think being able to launch these small businesses, I was able to achieve that because I had built the confidence, I had pushed myself outside my comfort zone through traveling. And I think for you out there watching, to any of my 4 viewers, get out your comfort zone a bit more, challenge yourself, because you never know what might come of it. It just unlocks doors, and it's hard to explain, but my advice to you would be just to get out there and do what you feel uncomfortable doing, because I guarantee you, by doing that, you'll be able to take yourself to the next level. Everybody says traveling changed me, but genuinely it's helped my personal life, it's helped my business. For example, I can now network with people, with business people, a lot easier. I don't have an issue with going up to strangers or connecting with people on LinkedIn to try and better businesses, personal relationships, all that kind of stuff. It's been game changing, and so yeah, that would be the takeaway. Just get out your comfort zone, do whatever you have to do to stretch yourself that little bit more. That could be anything, so think about that. So if you enjoyed that video, you found it inspiring, or you can take something from it, let me know in the comments box below what you would do to stretch yourself, to take you out your comfort zone. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Stay tuned for next week, because we have the Kickstarter project mini-series launching, and yeah, excited to share that. Until next time, peace.